management of KWAM. Welcome to the Variety Hour, where local leaders talk Memphis.
Listen to you move your mouth. I bet you come from way down south. Now don't tell me, let me guess, you from the town that I love best. Talk Memphis, I wish you would. Talk Memphis, you sound so good. Talk Memphis, high on the bluff. I swear I can't get enough. Listening to you talk that stuff. Talk Memphis, oh yeah. Talk Memphis.
You're listening to the CrestCore Real Estate Hour. Now, here's your host, Dean Harris.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the CrestCore Real Estate Hour. Thank you guys for tuning in this morning. I am your host, Dean Harris. I'm with CrestCore Realty over on Summer Avenue. So appreciate you guys tuning in here. Facebook Live. You guys go to the Facebook page here, the CrestCore Real Estate Hour, and you can not only watch today's show live, but I will post this show on the Facebook page right after it's over, and you can re-listen at your own pace. We've got about 50 to 60 shows that are posted on there that you can go back and listen to at your own leisure. The CrestCore Real Estate Hour concentrates on investing in Memphis and West Tennessee real estate. We'll focus on all those related topics as well. I'll discuss local and national investment trends, as well as give you an inside look at what it takes to become an investor here in Memphis and West Tennessee, or what it takes to become a bigger and better investor in Memphis and West Tennessee. Remind you guys every single show that I am an investor, so if you have that old home that you need to sell quickly, or if you know someone that has a home they need to sell quickly, email me, dean@crestcore.com, and I'll get you a cash offer on that home today. You guys hear me say that at every show, but I don't really care what the condition is. I don't care where it's at or what it looks like, what it used to look like. Maybe it's burned down. Doesn't matter. Just shoot me that email, dean@crestcore.com, and we'll get you that cash offer today. I'll have investments of the week today. I've got a really good, I usually just give you three, but I've got a 4-house package today that is they're all occupied and cash flowing. So I've been getting a lot more investors ask me for package deals. They're wanting to bundle up a few of these, so I thought I'd bring this package in today that we just listed not too long ago. So bottom of the hour, we'll get to that. 4 houses, 4-house package, all cash flowing, so it's good stuff there. Last week on the show, Dan Butler and I talked about how to accelerate your path to real estate investing. Dan, how are you this morning?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. That was a really good show. It's on the show's Facebook page, the CrestCore Real Estate Hour, and how to accelerate your path in real estate investing. I got some good feedback on that. It was just a good show as far as how to, put your foot on the gas, right? I mean, it was good to discuss that. So you guys go check that out. Again, on the show's Facebook page, the CrestCore Real Estate Hour. Today, we're going to talk about 7 ways millionaire real estate investors think. So let's dive right into that, Dan. It's a mindset over, I guess, an actuality. Meaning, if your mind's not right with anything that you're doing, I don't think your focus is going to be there. I don't think what it takes is going to be there until you get your mind ready to do what you're going to do. And I don't think that applies with anything in life, not necessarily just real estate.
No, I agree. I think, one thing that, if you're going to do something big or something different, something extraordinary, you kind of have to have a bigger purpose, a bigger why. You got to think about your why, your purpose.
Yep.
And I was going through this weekend. I mean, it was just interesting to think about, if you think about very successful people, what you will quote unquote successful, that all means something different from everybody else, but mainstream media type success, authors, actors, real estate investors that we know, Grant Cardone types, you study them and, are they smarter than us? Are they,
you start asking yourself a bunch of questions.
Are they more educated?
Yep.
Are they, were they born with a silver spoon? What was different about those guys and girls? And you really start thinking about, then you realize, they're not smarter than you. They're not, you know what I mean? Like, no. they're there are people that are smarter than others, or more educated than others, but that's not really what it's about. you know. And so, but when you have a bigger purpose, a bigger vision, a bigger you know, you have where you want to go, you know why you're there or why you're trying to get there, that's going to drive you every day. You know, every second of every day is going to have a bigger purpose than just getting up, having breakfast, and going to work, you know.
It took me a long time to get to that point to where I you know, having a family and having children helped change that. You know, your why changes from when you're single or, you know, no kids or but my focus, I don't know, several years ago changed from, you know, I'm at work and I'm working to obviously to make money.
Right. Pay your bills.
And do whatever you want, you know, within your means. But when you really change that over and flip that over to a goal, a purpose, a reason for getting up and doing that, and it's a long-term reason. I mean, I guess it's, you know, you could chalk it up to getting older and maturing and things like that. But and you were around when I made the switch. I mean, you and I discussed it.
Right.
I had to make a decision that I was going to make the best of my time that I was going to use. You know, these were conversations. These are self conversations that you have in your car driving around. And when we made that switch, when I say we, my wife and I and myself really made that switch to focus on the future and my big time goals, my whole demeanor changed. My whole outlook on getting up to go to work. It was no longer a drag. And I've been in this almost 18 years, so you can get a little, you know, bored and tired, and it can change. So I think today's show is going to be really good, talking, you know, for our investors that are listening about their mindset, because they might be investing for a long time, but until they have that end goal in mind and that reason why, you know, I think it's
You're gonna sputter.
They're lacking. They're sputtering.
You know, one thing that you know, I thought about two examples as I went through this weekend. You know, there's a doctor at church that you start talking to him and you find out his why, and it's because his mom died of cancer when he was young. Yeah. And he's like, man, that was my big why of, like, I want to get involved in cancer research and try to figure out the cure. And that's his biggest motivation getting up every morning, is trying to figure out a way to solve that, you know.
Just drives him every day.
Yeah. And then another one, I had a neighbor that had bulimia, and, you know, really suffered that through the teenage years. And, you know, she took that like, hey, I got through it. It was painful, learned a lot, and she became a dietitian and got a master's in, you know, food, you know, psychology and that kind of stuff. And now she's at Le Bonheur and doing well. And just a cool story, you know, like, they have bigger whys, you know, as a parallel to real estate, you know.
And your why can be that big and be involved with real estate. It could be financial gains. I mean, it could be just goals that you want to achieve, things you haven't done. So I love the mind, you know, 7 ways millionaires or millionaire real estate investors think. I mean, we're not claiming to be millionaire real estate investors, but what we're trying to relay is that this mindset that you've got to have and you've got to get to, you know, study successful people, rich people, you know, people you admire. I've said this on this show several times. You know, my dad used to tell me, you are who you hang with. And when I was a little kid, it was, you know, quit hanging with little Johnny who's getting in trouble all the time. But if you translate that to later in life, you are who you hang with. I mean, just because you go hang out with millionaires is not going to automatically make you a millionaire, but it's going to give you a mindset. You're going to watch and observe, and you're going to look and see how people act and how they carry themselves. And although some will be different, there's going to be a whole lot of traits and things that you see out of each one of those. I mean, if you took a whole room and you had millionaires in there, I imagine they've all got some kind of common ground and common thought process.
Oh, for sure. And you know, like you were talking about yours, I mean, like for me, when I grew up, you know, we were middle class, lower middle class. Yeah. But, you know, my dad was the first one to go to college out of like 50 cousins. And, you know, I just knew I wanted something bigger than you know, small town, nothing wrong with small town, but just that
Yeah.
kind of
The thought process.
around that, and just like I don't want to have to worry about buying my kid a sweater or buy, you know what I mean? Like I wanted to be able to afford the things, you know. And so that was kind of my big why early on.
Yeah.
You know, and
Now
then
it's shifted.
It's shifted, yeah. So it's even bigger purpose than that, you know, like helping others succeed. I love helping others.
Yeah.
You know, we met with the guy yesterday. You met him in the office yesterday, and you know, and he commented on that, like he's looking for partnerships, and I was like, yeah, man. I mean, you know, we might not be the cheapest, might not be, you know, everything you want, but I guarantee you, we're going to walk alongside you and try to help you be successful.
Yeah.
And we're going to enjoy.
And I know him, and I'm sure he was really appreciative of that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, you know, we just have a higher purpose than just making money.
Yeah.
You know, I want to help him make money, and hopefully I can make some money along the way.
Yeah.
But, you know, and then part of my why was just having that autonomy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just that personality that wants to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And so, you know, I think
everybody's got a little bit of that.
A little bit of that. That's right. And but that was enough of a driver. It was strong enough in mind that, you know, I wanted to create, you know, wealth creation through buying real estate and, you know, creating a real estate company, that kind of thing. So,
what are some of the things that you're most often, you know, that you think about when you think of millionaire real estate investors? Like, what are some of their traits that you would imagine they have, you know, the same? Obviously, the desire to be successful is one.
Yeah, I think you know, they're just motivated.
Yeah.
You know, passionate,
Self-motivated.
motivated, self-motivated.
They don't need to hear the rah-rah every morning.
Yeah.
They can get up and rah-rah themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I think I'm trying to remember the name of the book Douglas just gave me about a Navy SEAL guy that hired a Navy SEAL for 30 days to live with him.
Oh,
you know,
gosh.
And that was intense. But the Navy SEAL was, you know, self-motivated, man. He
didn't need to get
his mental ability was off the charts. You know, they would go outside and run 6 miles in 14-degree weather, and he had shorts and a T-shirt, and all he asked for was like some cloth or cotton gloves. He's like, you know, the temperature is what you make of it. You know, like just some intense stuff, but you know, all that's around mindset and
it's 14 degrees, and he's telling you the temperature is what you make of it.
You know, but he I don't know what his bigger why was, and I haven't got that far in the book yet. I can't wait to keep reading it, but I have to imagine that, you know, it's no excuses for him. You know, it's just
none.
Get it done. You know, and
I know some people with that mindset, and sometimes it can be overbearing to you when you hear that. You know, you think they're coming across as, you know, really aggressive, you know, almost confrontational, really.
Cocky.
I mean, you know, they come across as that. But, you know, when you look at their life and what they're living and how they're living every day, I mean, you begin to realize that, no, this is actually, you know, a way. Because if you just hear one spurt of it, you know, if you're just listening to that one guy and you read one chapter, you might think, man, this guy's an arrogant jerk. I don't want to listen to it. If you start following along and realizing it's an everyday thing, this is not to show for you. This is not, and I know some folks that are like that. I try to be more like that. But they don't. I keep saying this, but they don't need they don't need motivating. They're motivating themselves to reach their goals. I think is one of the biggest takeaways.
You know, I think, you know, kind of building on that, you have to move from want to have to, and you got to have, you know, a filter. You know, we talked about the opportunity filter last week. You have to have some filter to if things in life are passing you by, and you know, I loved, you know, thinking through this. Like when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, so when you're creating your path, if you're saying, for example, if you want to lose 30 pounds, you're having to say no to something: alcohol, chocolate, cake, bread, something to get to your goal. You know, so if your goal is to get involved in real estate, you know, you might have to say no to go and hang out with friends, and I'm gonna go do X, Y, and Z, read a book, go to this conference, meet with a mentor, meet with a banker. You know what I mean? Like,
those are the people I think don't realize that you got to do that.
Yeah, you have to say no to something to say yes to where you're trying to go.
Yeah,
and that was an aha for me. You know, and we had culture index training last week, and you know, I've heard us talk about that personality survey that we use. You know, and his verbiage was, you're picking one person versus another, you're paying a tax. Like I thought that was an interesting way to look at it. Like same thing when you say yes or no. Like if you're picking yes, you're paying a tax on, saying yes.
Your success.
Yeah, you're in the tax of you're giving up something, or you're allowing something to happen to you by saying yes. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but
yeah, in other words, if you're, let's use the diet thing you just said. I mean, if you eat something you're not supposed to eat, that's an unnecessary tax that's going towards your goal. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, or
the opposite way.
Or the opposite way. Your tax of, man, my mind really wants that chocolate.
Yeah.
And so I'm having to mentally get focused, and that's the tax you're paying to.
There you go.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, one way or the other, yeah.
Yeah. Or your tax is you got to get up at 5 a.m. and go work out because that's the only time you can fit it in with kids and school and work and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a tax to be paid to do whatever you want to do.
Yes.
So I just thought that was an interesting, and the yes versus the no. Saying yes means you're saying no to something else. I think that helps in your big why. I guess we're trying to say you got to have that big why first. You got to figure out why you're doing what you're doing, or why is it you want to get into real estate, and what are you trying to? Don't think about 6-month goal. You got to start with what's your 10, 20, 30-year goal. Where you see this thing going.
I'll tell you, that's when mine changed. When I went from looking 6 months to 12 months out to 5 years to 8 years to 10 years, that's when I changed. I got in a habit early on in new construction because we would build houses, so I would have to stay with a client for 4 to 5 months. And I got in a habit of building that pipeline, but I never thought much past 6 months, 8 months, 9 months until a few years ago. And then I started to think 10 years, retirement. What am I going to do? And I'll tell you what it was. This is agents might be listening too, but I got a horrible, horrible fear of being 55 years old, 30-year real estate agent at that time, getting up on Saturday mornings, showing first-time home buyers a home in Cordova for $130,000 at 9:30 on Saturday morning. I mean, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with doing that.
Yeah.
But my point is, after being in the business for 30 years, I hoped I would have figured out a way to have that time to myself at that point,
right,
versus having to get up and which I don't. I make it sound like I don't want to be a real estate agent. But my point is, you've been in it that long and you're that age, getting up on Saturday to show that home is not what you want to be doing. It's just not.
Yeah. No, you don't think that way.
No.
Something has to click in you to say you got to forecast your life for 30 years and
Yeah.
say, and I've heard that with agents. I mean, that's why you see agents that are 60, 70, 80 years old.
Yeah.
Because they didn't do
Still
anything,
working.
still working. Some of them love it. I mean, that's
okay.
Yeah, that's all right. Let's don't.
No,
Don't
that's
say it's
what,
not
I'm
okay.
I'm not trying to bang on that person that's doing that
Right.
right now because they enjoy it. That's fine. But for me personally, that's not something I was interested in doing or am interested in doing. So
But you have to start thinking
I can
differently.
start thinking differently.
To make sure that you're not in that position where you have to do that. I think that's the big
big
takeaway.
time. Part of our notes here, when you tap into your why, you will have more energy, drive, hope, purpose, passion to do what is needed to be done. So, creating that why, I think, is maybe the initial obstacle, would you say? I mean, to sit down and figure out, get you a pad, notebook. I guess people these days.
Why are you doing it?
What are you? Why are you doing this?
We hear a lot of people call in. We've talked about this a ton over the radio, but well, my buddies are buying real estate, so I think I should. I think
that's the worst thing.
Yeah, it's just not the. You're not having a bigger why of why you're trying to do this. You're just doing it because everybody else is.
Yeah.
That
You're
going
a
back
follower.
to. Yeah, you're the Warren Buffett, be greedy when others.
Yeah, that's right.
What is it? Be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy. So when others are being greedy, that's not the having not the why or the purpose is not the time to jump into real estate.
Right.
So.
Guys, we're talking this morning. I'm with Dan Butler of CrestCore Realty. 7 ways millionaire real estate investors think. We're going to take a real quick break. Pay the bills, as the radio guys say in the biz. Take a real quick break. We'll come back. I'm going to give you the investments of the week, and then we're going to continue on with 7 ways millionaire real estate investors think. You guys are listening to the CrestCore Real Estate Hour here on 107.9 The Voice.
You're listening to the CrestCore Real Estate Hour. We'll be right back after this.
KWAM weather and traffic twice an hour from News Channel 3 and on-time traffic on The Voice, FM 107.9 and AM 990. KWAM weather.
Partly cloudy this morning, sunny this afternoon. Temperatures climbing into the upper 70s with light northerly winds. Clear, cool, calm overnight, low 50s by daybreak. More sunshine with highs pushing the 80-degree mark for your Wednesday. Find the largest selection of exercise equipment anywhere in the Mid-South at Exercise Unlimited, 387 South Front Street, Memphis. Call 901-335-6993. I'm News Channel 3's Todd Demers. On The Voice, FM 107.9 and AM 990.
Griffin, Clift, Everton, and Mashmeyer, PLLC, is a full-service law firm with over 50 years of experience in the Memphis area. Real estate closings have continued to be the forefront of their law practice, which include residential, commercial, and development real estate transactions, drafting and negotiation of real estate contracts and leases, business information, preparation of wills, probate, and estate planning. Their firm represents a number of builders, developers, investors, and local lending institutions, and is approved to close transactions for most local banks and mortgage companies. In addition, they offer title search, title examination services, and title insurance through several well-established title insurance companies in the Memphis area, as well as Tennessee and Mississippi. They strive to offer services in a prompt and timely fashion while advising and representing clients in a zealous and professional manner. Should their offered services be of need, please contact William N. Griffin Jr. or any of their attorneys at 901-752-1133. They can also be found online at www.gcemlaw.com or on Facebook.
Is it a good time to buy or refi? Is it a buyer's market or a seller's market? Are interest rates going sky high soon? Hi, I'm Ludi Calloway, the mortgage lady at iBank Mortgage. I tell my customers to ask questions, get answers. So join me every Monday morning at 8 and I will tell you what's going on in today's still changing mortgage world. Remember, most people think about mortgages a few times in their lives. I think about them every single day. Tune in Mondays at 8.
CBS Money Watch.
Wall Street started off the week mixed. The Dow fell 83 points. The Nasdaq rose 15 and the S&P 500 gained 3. Boeing fell 4% Monday after announcing a cut in production of the 737 MAX planes. The aircrafts remain grounded in the wake of the fatal Ethiopian Airlines crash last month. And Acura is recalling 323,000 SUVs because of a brake light failure. The company says water can get into the taillights and cause an electrical problem. And that's your CBS Money Watch report. For more, head to cbsmoneywatch.com. At the New York Stock Exchange, I'm Diane King Hall.
You have enough things to worry about every day. Insurance shouldn't be one of them. You can leave worry behind when Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance. See how much you could save at libertymutual.com.
KWAM weather and traffic twice an hour from News Channel 3 and on-time traffic on The Voice, FM 107.9 and AM 990. KWAM traffic.
Good morning. The accident reconstruction team is on the scene here working this fatal crash out here. It's a mess on 240 westbound here at Butler, where they have it closed here on the interstate because of the seriousness of this accident. It's really affected a lot of routes this morning, so just give yourself extra time. There's a wreck there, 40 westbound at Covington Pike, Austin P. Highway near the interstate. Again, a lot of the other routes are being affected by this. Even some of the alternate routes as well, where they have it shut down, 240 westbound here at Butler on this fatal crash. Make a living with a career that makes a difference. I'm talking about the Air Force. Log on airforce.com. I'm Commander Chuck. You're on time traffic.
Welcome back to the CrestCore Real Estate Hour. Now, here's your host, Dean Harris.
All right, welcome back. Is this Bush? No. Foo Fighters.
That was Weezer.
My bad. we went over that last week, Dan. Jeez. We introduced Dan to Weezer last week.
Yeah, I still don't know who that is.
Hey, before we get into this, I saw one of my favorite agents here comment, Miss Verna Littleton. Yeah, you're right, Verna. We don't want to get up at 9 in the morning on Saturdays at 60 years old and show houses. So thanks for listening
Buy some
and commenting.
houses.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm doing. I think Verna's in the same thought process. No way that it's just it's okay if someone wants to do that, but if you've been in the business for 30 and 40 years and it's just not something you look forward to, is to getting up on Saturday morning and showing, property at 9 in the morning. But unless unless that's just almost hobby type stuff for you. If that's the case, then maybe, that's a little bit different.
Some people love that.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, Vernon. We appreciate you. Investments of the week, guys. We got 4 here, 4-house package. I've been getting a lot of calls on, package deals, 3 houses, 5, 10. I've actually just listed a 21-house package if you're swinging that big a stick. But let's go through these. This is the same seller. All these are occupied and cash flowing. Number 1 here, 1170 Parkland Road. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. It's over in 38111, and it's occupied for $650. Seller is asking $39,900. It's 1170 Parkland, one word, Parkland. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. It's in 38111, $39,900, and the seller, it's occupied for $650 a month. Number 2, 1443 Wrenwood, W-R-E-N Wood, one word. 1443 Wrenwood Street. It's another 2-bedroom, 1 bath, occupied for $600. This is over in the Butler area. It's $46,900. 1443 Wrenwood, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, 38122. Occupied at $595, and the seller's asking $46,900. Number 3, 3731 Briar Rose. That's 2 words. Another 2-bedroom, 1 bath. Occupied at $675 over in 38111. Seller's asking $49,900. It's a good house for almost $700 rental. Over in 38111. 3731 Briar Rose, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, $675. It's occupied for. Seller's asking $49,900. And then last but not least, 2278 Sharon. This is east of Highway 51 in Fraser, so this is an okay area. Anything that's, am I saying that right? Yeah, anything that's east of 51 is still good in our minds. 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath. It's occupied at $725. Nice brick home too. It's $49,900. That's what the seller's asking. 2278 Sharon, 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath. Occupied at $725. Seller's asking $49,900. You guys be sure, if you have any questions, I go through these fairly quick just because we're on the radio, but if you have any questions about any of these, shoot me an email, dean@crestcore.com, and I'll be happy to answer those questions. Again, a 4-house package, all occupied and cash flowing. So just give me a quick email, and I'll shoot you some more information back on those today. And you can also go to our show's website, the brokerage's website, www.crestcorerealty.com, and you can see all of our listings and stuff on there. I'm excited about that website, Dan, before we dive back into this.
Yeah.
It's coming along really well. Buyers are about to get ready to offer on the website. You can contact us and list investment property through the website, so we're pretty excited about that launch. It's coming up the next few weeks.
Cool.
I know you guys are.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
Let's continue on here.
Yeah.
7 ways that millionaire real estate investors think. Before we left on break, we focused in on your why, why you do things, your purpose, and your mindset to get you going. So now we've thought and we're going. Now it's I think your obligation and your, if you're going to do yourself the right justice, is to think big. And big for some people, that's a relevant term.
Yeah, some people think bigger than others.
Bigger than others, and that's fine.
There's no right or wrong. It's just like you got to think bigger than you currently think, and have bigger habits, bigger, goals, mindset, all that kind of ties in.
It does, and it's so I'm trying to place the investor into our thought. You're already thinking, and you already have your why, so you're motivated every day now. I've had my staff read this book, but the Grant Cardone 10X book is, and I've listened to it. I'm not an enormous reader, but I've listened to it. Man, it's an awesome book, and we model a whole lot of what we started the brokerage with off of this book and off of this thought process. We've got goals. I don't mind sharing this, to sell over 100 houses a month. We want to help investors 100 times a month in several markets, and that's a 10x thought process for us,
Right.
is to get to that point. So
And you have to build models, systems, processes
around it,
around that.
You guys, and I'll give you this is a little bit off of this, but I think this is good. When I first came back, to CrestCore, and we had our VTO meeting, our vision track meetings, we sat down and we looked at each other and we said, hey, what are some of our big goals? And at first my mind was, well, let's sell X amount of homes a month. That would be great. Then we all started thinking, like, well, wouldn't it be great if we could sell 80 and 100? I'm like, well, gosh, if we're doing that, let's make it 300. But
Sure.
But yeah, we thought 100, and I was like, golly, I can't even hardly put my head around that.
You're doing like 2 a month?
I'm
just kidding.
No, no. We at the time, I mean, I'll be honest, we were doing 7 to 8, maybe 9, 10 a month.
Yeah.
That would be a great month. Now we're 25 and 30, but it's the mindset of doing 100. I was like, man, it's hard for me to even put my head around that. But that was a 10x thought process. So what did we do? We sat down and we thought, okay, if we're going to sell 100, what do we got to do to sell 80? And we just worked 60, and we worked our way backwards, and we started to come up with a plan of how to execute that and get to that. And I'm proud to say that after about a year and a half of doing this, we're a quarter of the way there, maybe a little more, following that plan.
Yeah, I mean, but you have to have, think of all the things we've had to put in place, talking about the habits and the models and the processes.
Yep.
You got traction, you mentioned vision traction organizer. That was very key to help us lay out the vision, culture index for hiring people and hiring the right people. Recruiting, having somebody to do recruiting for us.
Yep.
Virtual employees, that was big. That was a game
RTMs
changer.
Yeah, they've had
So,
a big help.
And I think part of this is like you got to have. I love the words, the SMART goals.
Yeah.
And I think part of the VTO and all that stuff, we had to have something. SMART goal was specific, measurable, attainable, just relevant, and then time sensitive. So you gotta be very specific. You can't say, we want to sell 50 houses. What does that mean? You know what I mean?
You can start off with that, but you got to have the details to build up to that.
Well, you got to say, I want to sell 50 houses a month by January of 2020.
Yes.
And then back your way into, you see what I'm saying? Like that way it holds you accountable, and then you start putting in you're building your systems and your processes to get you there. But if you don't, then you're just going to kind of be mulling around, so you got to create the goals and then your habits and your model, your systems and process,
I love the notes that we wrote here, the SMART goals to obtain your why.
Yeah.
Specific, measurable,
yeah,
and attainable. I mean, this is stuff that you definitely got to hang on to. Big goals, SMART goals to obtain your why are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time sensitive.
Yeah.
Which is just repeating what you just said, but that's exactly how we got to it.
Sure.
And we're not there yet, but it's a work in progress, and we'll continue going.
And I think you got to think about your habits every day. What the way you're working every day has got to be either supporting that goal or not. You know what I mean? Like
same thing with the diet you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to eat well every day. You got to create a habit. What is it? Is it 21 days? It's a habit. Is that true?
That's what I always grew up hearing. But then I read The One Thing by Gary Keller, and he did researched a lot of this, and I think it was like 66 days is actually a true habit to where you just do it. It's just part of your life. So if you want to get up at 5 a.m., you can't just do it for 1 or 2 days and hope that now you can get up at 5 a.m. You got to do it for 66 plus days, and then it becomes where, just like, this morning for me, I've been doing it for several years now, and so 4:45, I'm starting to wake up.
That's my biggest.
And so
thing
I'm out of the bed by 5 every morning.
That's my thing right now, man. I'm trying to get up.
Get up. You just can't do it.
I mean, I shouldn't say I'm really trying.
See, you're not setting it as a goal.
This is perfect radio. I mean, this is perfect commentary for both. I'd love to be able to get up at 5 every morning.
Yeah.
I just got to do it for 66 days. Is that what you're telling me?
You got to make it where it's just part of your life. I mean, same thing with working out. Like, why do you think January the gyms are so packed and all that stuff?
February they're not.
February they're not. People last for a couple of weeks. If they just hung on for another 2 or 3 more weeks, then it just becomes, they start seeing results and start getting into the habit, and it just becomes part of life.
So that was one of mine too. About 2 years ago, I wanted to include some daily, everyday exercise, and I've succeeded with that. Every morning, I have almost an hour of cardio type work that I do. But yeah, that took a while. That wasn't easy either.
Yeah.
But that's in my brain now. Like I don't sweat that. I actually look forward to it.
Yeah, I mean,
so you're just saying set that alarm and get up, man. I'm struggling with that.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, but you got to decide. Do you I'm gonna read a book. One per week that's gonna be focused on real estate.
Yeah.
Well, just to say I'm gonna read a book once a week, I mean that's pretty good. But that SMART goal would help you say I'm gonna read 30 minutes every night from 7 to 8. And I hate to be so like rigid. But you got to your body and your mind actually works better when you get it more specific and get it kind of more in a routine. We're built for routine. You know what I mean? Like not to say to get out of it and get in ruts. I mean you got to always be changing that, but you got to set yourself up with the habits and the goals to get to that big why. You can't just throw out
and hope.
Yeah, you can't go on hope and a prayer.
I've got another saying for that. It's not radio friendly, but 7 ways that millionaire real estate investors think. Dan Butler and I are talking about that this morning. We've covered, your why, figuring that part of it out. We've talked about how you're going to think, the goals that you're gonna set. Thinking big, having those 10x Grant Cardone type thought process. Next one is money matters. Tell me what we mean by that, Dan.
I think shifting the mindset of you're working for money versus, and then start and flip that to like, how can money work for you?
Yeah.
That's where that's a mind shift, huge mind shift change of, thinking money, that it matters, make money while you sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a phrase that you've heard over the years, but what does that really mean? So when we all start out of school, 100% of your money, pretty much, unless you're set up some way, is you make the money, you earn it, and that's your, that's your money.
Yeah.
And then over time, what I heard you say, if you listen, go back to this 15 minutes ago, you're trying to shift that to where I'm showing 100 houses to make $100,000 a year. I'm just throwing it out.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh wow, if I just show 20 years, I just have to show 25 houses because 75% of my money that I need to live off of can be generated by stocks, bonds, real estate, other investment vehicles, and not just dependent on
me and my hands and what I'm doing today.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a way different mindset, and you've helped me think a whole lot about that. And of course, we're talking about with this show specifically rental income. How can that people call it mailbox money or whatever, but when you're sleeping, you're earning.
Yeah. Because most people, I mean, I don't, we know this, but we don't know this. Like most people live paycheck to paycheck.
I heard a scary stat on that. Like almost 80% of
people
live on
paycheck to paycheck. Yeah. I don't doubt that. I mean,
yeah,
I think, but you have to flip that mindset. You can flip that, and I got an example here in a minute. But for the wealthy, consumption comes last. Think about that. Meaning consuming, like spending on frivolous things, spending on stuff. For the truly wealthy, all right, consumption comes last. Whereas in the non-wealthy mindset,
comes first.
Consumption comes first. You got your money, all right, where am I going to spend it? I'll never forget when I was at Milliken Textiles as a co-op student, making $13-something an hour, and it was tough for me because I had to mentally. I was working alongside operators in the plant that I was making just as much or maybe more, and that's their livelihood. And then I would see them Friday afternoon on their paycheck, playing games and buying alcohol and just basically almost spending the whole check, so that by Monday they're
back to work
again to try to make the next check. And that really hit home for me. That was when I was probably 20 years old. I was like, this mindset is messed up. You know, like, and to think that by just making some different choices, that same person with that same paycheck, life could look totally different.
With
Does that
some
make
very
sense?
small choices.
Yeah, I mean, so
I love what you just said, and I want to repeat it,
Yeah.
and then you keep going, but consumption for the wealthy comes at the very end, comes last.
yeah, because
So great.
and you know, and I could start with your 401k. You know, take that off the top. If you're in a regular job right now,
Yeah.
you know, and then turn that into a Roth IRA that you can and to buy, you know, real estate or loan it to people or whatever.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think that's the wealthy mindset, is you're taking your money for investment off the top and then living off the rest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Versus you can, you know, the non-wealthy, for lack of better words, I don't know what the flip of it is. I don't want to,
Yeah.
you know, label anybody, but
Yeah.
you get your paycheck and you spend first, and it's like, oh wow, there's nothing left.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like,
Absolutely. That's why I wanted to repeat it.
yeah, I mean, like, to me that was a powerful, and if you think about that all day, every day, and how you, the first time you get some money, you know, what do you do with it? You know, are you going to go buy, you know, a new car, you know, or a new
purse,
house?
or
You know, that's why I
whatever.
love the Millionaire real estate, Millionaire, what is it, Millionaire Next Door, I think, the book.
Yeah.
You know, that's when you realize like the people that you think are wealthy, say a doctor example, that's what the book uses, you know, they consume first just because they make the money, you know.
Right.
And all it takes is one little shift, you know, and they might only have $5,000 in the bank, which sounds like a lot to some people, but to somebody that has $1 million home and, you know, a nice fancy car and, you know, kids doing this and that,
That's got to be extremely stressful.
that's got to be stressful.
I don't
And
see how you-
$20 in credit card debt. So versus somebody that is making, say, $50,000 a year, but they invest first, consume on the last, you know, and what we're talking about is not easy.
No,
So
we're
let's
making it sound like
just don't
it's
make it
super
so
easy.
like, oh, just start.
But I
you
think
know.
if you listen to the first part of the show and you get your why straight, I mean, this is all building up. If you get your why there,
Yeah.
and you start 10xing your thought processes and thinking big, and then you start applying some of these rules and these things into it, I think it can become easier
Yes.
than if you just popped in and said, I'm going to start spending, saving all of my check. I haven't ever done that before, but today I'm going to start doing that. That's what's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're an alcoholic and one day you wake up and you just say, I'm going to stop drinking, that's impossible. You've got to
Yeah.
really think and apply and come up with a plan. It's the same thing with this. If you're going to be in that mindset, I think you've got to really change your everything.
You know, I think, some practical examples. I'm skipping around a little bit because I know we're going to run out of time. This was such a meaty topic, but, the Dave Ramsey envelope system was huge for us.
Yeah.
Like to change that to like, all right, here's our bills, here's the money for the bills, and then don't touch the checking account.
And you still do this.
Still do this to this
Okay,
day.
so you brought this up, so I didn't want to say anything that you're doing. So you brought, and for the listeners out here,
Yeah.
I want to pat you on the back, and I know you won't do it, so I will.
Yeah.
You're an extremely successful real estate investor, one of the biggest in this city. And
come on now.
No, I know you're not going to say this, but I will. One of the biggest and the best in the city, and in this region, really. And you and your family at home are divvying up cash in envelopes on the Dave Ramsey budget.
Yes, the dog has a budget, the kids have a budget, the food, the Christmas, all that has a budget. And so the cool thing about that is our checking account, the amount of transactions in checking account is like this
Nothing.
big. It's just whatever has to be paid by a check or auto draft or whatever. That's all that's left to be paid out of the checking.
How long have y'all been doing this?
We've been married since 2002, 17 years, so we've been doing about 16 years. So it was 1 year in a marriage. And another example, I'll give you a technician at our maintenance company. I've been pouring into him and talking a lot to him, and he was, I guess for lack of better words, broke.
Yeah.
Living paycheck to paycheck. And we just started talking about his habits, smoking, out to eat, blah, blah, blah. Everything,
Whatever he was doing.
Whatever he's doing. So that whole thing about yes versus no. And so he started saying no to eating out and no to smoking. I think he's still smoking some, but it's much, much reduced. He's still trying to, he's on the path to get it off. But
get off of it.
last time I talked to him, he had $1,000 in the bank, and you're talking about somebody that was just waiting for the next check to happen, was actually behind waiting for the next check. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And now he's building in a matter of 3 to 4 months $1,000, and as you know, that's going to snowball for him. Now he's talking about, man, I could see a vision to own my own house. So now he's got a bigger why. He's going to create a bigger why through all what we're talking about
and
today.
And it's easy to catch that momentum. With the example of your guy here, let's say he's got 1,000, and he's going to look up and there's 3. He's going to look up and there's 6. Well, there's something to get excited about. I mean, it's easier to be motivated, and it's easier to drive you when you can see that the plan you're putting in place is actually working and panning out.
Yeah, I call it the snowball effect. That's what I wrote down. Just it starts to build, and then I started thinking about, how does that play out in investors? And it's funny, my fix and flip example that I wrote out for us today was almost the exact same of what a guy came to our office yesterday talking about. So think about this. The investor doesn't have any money, so he goes and borrows money at, say, 12%, 5 points, which is expensive.
Yep.
Okay? You buy a $100,000 house to fix up, sell it for $130,000. And so what do you do with that $30,000? That's my question to him. I was like, what do you do with that $30,000? You made $30,000 profit, or $20,000, whatever that number is.
What was the response?
He's, investing it back. And so where I was going with that is like, so if he put $30,000 and he kept, say he spent $10,000 on his family to keep things going, but $20,000. So the next $100,000 house he wants to buy to flip, he only has to borrow $80,000 at 12% and 5 points because he's got $20,000 of his own. Then he does it again. Now he only has to borrow $60,000. See what I'm saying? Like, so all of a sudden, I started doing the math. I was like, man, in 5 flips,
you don't need us.
You don't need us anymore. You don't need
yeah.
So your money starts snowballing. So you could so it creates choices, is I guess where I was going with it too.
Yeah.
Is like either you keep borrowing at 12 and 5, which is,
it's fine.
Fine.
Save your money.
And I always say with that is if you're going to invest that $100,000 that you built up by doing this method, and go invest it in something else, like buying 2 rentals or buying 5 rentals at 20% down for $100,000. Does that make sense? Like you're leveraging that money in a very productive way, or you're just making more money each deal you're doing, which then should lead to investing it in something else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
I
mean, it's just a complete and total, mindset change. And I love the example of the fix and flips and what you just gave. I mean,
to me, that was just a practical example I thought of, like that the consume versus spend. If you just consume all of it, you're going to keep just having this. You've created a job. Yeah, you might not be in corporate America, but now you're strictly focused on having to find that next flip. Versus if you either start out, borrowing less and making more, and then turning that money and investing in something else. Like his example was he wanted to start buying rentals, and so we're going to help him start buying rentals. So that listeners understand that we're not talking about something that happens overnight. We're talking about a very long timeline. That's why the big why is so important, because if you don't have that, you'll just get murked down in just the day to day.
That's one thing to caution when you listen
happens.
to this show, when you listen to this episode or show or whatever it may be, is you can't fast forward. In my opinion, I don't think you can fast forward to our third and fourth thought processes here. I think you've got to start at the very beginning and create your why, because if you don't have that, I think you lose focus and you lose reason if you skip ahead. And your why could be different. And I think too, one thing to caution or to make sure everyone's aware, I mean, your why can change. If you're 22 years old, fresh out of college right now, your why right now is to get rich, man. I want to, you know what I mean? I want to be wealthy. If you're 35 years old and you're married with 2 kids, your why is going to be completely different. But I'm going to say, I know you've got to come up with that why. You've got to create then your thought process and how big you want to think. And then you've got to come over in here and start applying in your daily life some of those things that you're trying to do based off your why and your big time thinking process. This is a great topic. I mean, I know we're running out of time today, but this is a great topic that I think I mean, we could dive even further. I think we're going to try part 2 next week, right?
That's right.
With the back end to this, but
there's just a lot to it. I mean, that's why, when I stepped back and thought about this year for the radio, it's like, man, if we could spend more time on the mental piece and the mindset and just helping give practical examples of how this can make a difference, so it makes it all possible for anybody that wants to do it.
And I think we're going to begin. I know we're going to begin to start talking about some of that stuff as far as your mindset and why you're doing things, and not to take away from the real estate side of it, the investment side of it, but we can only tell you about Memphis so much, right? I mean, there's only so many things we can tell you. So to keep the flow of the show going, we're going to begin to talk about some of those things. Another thing I wanted to kind of announce, we're going to go before we end. We're going to begin the show now on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. We're doing this for several reasons. One of them is a lot of our clients that listen to the show are on the West Coast. And a lot of them have said, hey, man, I'd love catching your show in my spare time later when I can, but we'd love it if if we can get on. So we're going to move the show to Wednesdays at 10 a.m. We're going to be live on Facebook. And about that transition, because I think it's going to open it up to some of our West Coast listeners, but you can still find the show on Facebook Live. You're going to be able to go to the show's Facebook page, the CrestCore Real Estate Hour, and find us there
on Wednesday mornings. Yeah.
On Wednesday mornings at 10,
Yeah.
And then we're going to play here on the radio. Greg, tell me when.
7 a.m. Saturday mornings.
Saturday mornings at 7 a.m. for our AM 990 107.9 FM. The Voice listeners, we're going to move to Saturday mornings, so you can still catch us there as you're drinking your coffee and stuff like that in the morning. So we're excited about that too. I think we're going to hit a different listenership on that Saturday morning show. So we're pretty excited about that. Any takeaways, Dan, before we go today?
No, I think just hopefully it pushes our listeners to just step back and think about, why are they in it?
Yeah.
Or why do they think they want to be in it? And then try to create the path, write it down.
Yeah.
Some practical examples. I mean, I think I've given that example. I wrote on a plane how I was going to go to 300 houses. And
literally on an airplane.
I truly remember sitting down with the pad and just figuring that out, like what I had to do, how many bank relationships, and how much my lines of credit had to be, and how much time would happen with each one, and to get to that path. And that's part of, I think that's part of the secret sauce of getting there, is having that focus, and that's what I leave too, is just the focus. You got to focus in on the one thing, that you want to strive for, to get to, and then when you get good at it and you're good, then add other stuff. Don't try to do all things to all people. I think that's where we just, but it's all doable. That's why I love giving the technician example this morning. I'm still doing the envelope system 18 years later. There's ways to that you can get there.
Yeah. Don't ever think you're too good. I mentioned, I mean, he's doing it.
Well, it's just practical, and it saved our marriage from just frustration. We didn't want money to be the issue with our marriage.
Yeah.
And so we saw early on that could, and so we just
eliminated it.
Our bigger why is to stay married.
So that's a good one,
solution.
Man. Happy wife, happy life.
That's right.
Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next Wednesday at 10 a.m. here locally. West Coast folks, you can catch us today, and then Saturday mornings at 7 here on AM 990 and 107.9 The Voice. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
CBS News at the top of every hour, serving Tennessee, Mississippi, and Arkansas.